one of sincerity. It's been heartfelt, and I think we've seen some real change in the way we're able to discuss things in this place, to say and to accept what the inquiry, I remember when the inquiry came out, it was not quite 3 years ago, that the fact that the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls in Two-Spirit inquiry had said this is a genocide. When that first was said, there was a great deal of response in the media as if that might not be the case. It's been stated by members on all sides of the House today without question. That's a sense that we've made progress in understanding the scope and scale and gravity of the issue. I want to start by acknowledging that we're here on the unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples. And I want to also acknowledge that the territory that I'm honored to represent here in Parliament, that my riding name, Saanich, Gulf Islands, being a corrupted English pronunciation of Wasanich, the Wasanich Nation of the Coast Salish peoples. And I am deeply indebted to the peoples of our territory. Preparing for this, and whenever I think about the inquiry, I don't want to talk about statistics. I just want to say, as a settler culture woman, recognizing the privilege of the color of my skin, I am so lucky to have I have a bunch of great women friends. But it's only my Indigenous women friends who say things casually like, well, I was left for dead in a dumpster. I hardly know any close Indigenous women friends who have not had the experience of the loss of close family members, particularly on the downtown east side in Vancouver. And the statement, I was left for dead in a dumpster, it was actually in the context of sitting in a circle after this report came out in Victoria with a woman I thought I knew really well. Her anglicized name is Rose Henry. She goes by the Sliamlin name now of Grandma Losa. I had no idea that my friend Rose, as a kid, had been left for dead in a dumpster after being beaten and abused. These experiences aren't statistics. These are our friends, our mothers, our aunties, our children, and the levels of abuse and casual violence against Indigenous women and girls is appalling, is a human rights abuse, and we have not responded with the urgency that we must. We went for years, I'm sure colleagues will remember, demanding that we get an inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. We got the inquiry, we got the recommendations, but women and girls are still going missing on a routine basis. Indigenous women and girls are still marginalized and at risk, and we have 231 calls for justice to make that not the case anymore. In the time remaining for me, I want to emphasize a few of them that stand out. In the calls for justice, 4.5, I mentioned a few times tonight in questions and comments, is a call for a guaranteed livable income that will end the marginalization, take women and girls from being in a position of great risk to being safer by the security of having enough money to not be in poverty. It's pretty straightforward. We also know from this inquiry that women who've gone missing are quite often, through their marginalized economic status, forced to hitchhike. They don't own a car. They're not going to be getting safe and affordable ground transportation because there isn't any. Our ground transportation system in this country is worse than that in most developing countries. Think about that. And this report came out before Greyhound withdrew service right across Canada. So when I talk to my Nuu-Chah-Nulth friends, particularly Chief Judith Sayers of the Nuu-Chah-Nulth Nation, she has been a prominent supporter of a local bus company called Wilson's Bus Lines that's been trying to stay afloat, trying to connect services. This government needs to acknowledge that we need Via Rail to work for the marginalized, and we also need to address the huge threat of wellness checks in which Indigenous women and girls die. A wellness check should not result in an inquiry and a coroner's report. This also needs urgent attention. Thank you, Madam Speaker.